Turkey, the cradle of civilization. For travelers with a taste for adventure, history, folklore, natural beauty, Turkey is a country that is finally coming into its own. If it's history you crave, Turkey is the richest country in the world for ancient ruins and archaeological sites. And if you desire beautiful azure Mediterranean coastlines, Turkey has it all, with its hundreds of lovely coves, bays, and coastal villages. And the food, Turkish cuisine and wine are some of the finest in the world. In addition, the climate is pleasant, the people are friendly and helpful, and the accommodations are outstanding. Bora Özkok's Cultural Folk Tours offers the traveler a unique focus on Turkey's culture, history, and folklore. You'll see Turkey's heritage of art and architecture, archaeology, and biblical and classical sites. You'll see natural beauty and wildlife. Our tour routes make frequent stops for photos, and best of all, you'll really meet the people. Our experienced English-speaking guides will introduce you to the folklore, tradition, and daily life of Turkey. And the museums of Turkey are some of the best in the world. And you'll have plenty of time for great shopping and antique hunting. We keep our tour groups small, always less than 30, and usually between 10 and 20 people. You'll travel in a large, modern, air-conditioned bus and eat delicious lunches in local restaurants. We take pride in our human touch. Our satisfied clients are educated and savvy travelers of all ages who want to get to know the culture of the country they visit. Our greatest asset is the friendly, hospitable people of Turkey. They'll make your holiday an enjoyable and memorable experience. Let's take a look at some of the highlights of our tours, beginning in Istanbul. Istanbul. The name conjures the romance and intrigue of a unique place that bridges Asia and Europe. Istanbul has a skyline that is overpowering, exotic, and alluring, an indelible and unmistakable image known throughout the world. In Istanbul, you'll stay in complete comfort at the stylish Barcelo Erezin Hotel. In the lobby on our first meeting, you'll find you'll have an immediate kinship with the other travel-wise and friendly tour members. Your rooms here and throughout your Bora tour in Turkey will all be the very best available in each location. Throughout the tour, Bora is there at the front, giving you fascinating information, facts, stories, and insights into this fabulous country's history, folklore, and arts. With its magnificent domes, 6 slender minarets, its spacious courtyard, and its grandiose yet elegant proportions, the Blue Mosque, built in 1603, is one of the architectural marvels of the world. Light floods into the prayer hall through 260 windows. The Blue Mosque gets its name from the blue tiles that cover the dome and walls. Some tiles come from the famous Nicaea workshops.
And one of the most incredible monuments in the city is Saint Sophia, the greatest church mankind ever built, and it was the largest for 1,000 years. It was built by some 40,000 people, and it took something like 5 years to finish, 532 to 537 AD. The space from the dome to the ground is simply awe-inspiring.
Very near St. Sophia is the Hippodrome. This square was the center of Byzantium's life for 1,200 years. This is the obelisk of Theodosius, the oldest monument in Istanbul. It was carved in Egypt 3,500 years ago. Here is the impressive Museum of Turkish and Islamic Arts. It's housed in the Palace of Ibrahim Pasha. Inside, the most interesting exhibits are the floor-to-ceiling, centuries-old carpets. And here's the Grand Bazaar, one of the most famous markets in the world. There are about 4,000 shops in this labyrinth of streets and halls. We'll also take you to the fantastic Egyptian spice market. The name survives from the time when the market specialized in the sale of herbs and spices, as well as medicinal plants and drugs. Inside, shelves are heavy with great bulging sacks of multicolored spices and jars of sometimes exotic foods and essential oils. Here's the Topkapi Palace. It was built by Mehmet the Conqueror in 1453 and was the home of the Sultan until the 19th century. The incredible rooms of the harem were the imperial family quarters, and every detail of harem life was governed by tradition and ceremony. The walls of these pavilions are covered with the finest 17th century Nicaea tiles. Nicaea is in Turkey, and it was the site of the First Ecumenical Council. To truly appreciate the beautiful location of the city, we'll cruise in a private boat up the Bosporus, the most important highway of water in this part of the world. Other companies try to make you pay for private cruises and side trips like this, but with us there are no extra optional trips and fees to pay.
This has been terrific. What an experience. What's terrific? This whole area of the city is terrific. So scenic.
City on 7 hills with this incredible history behind it.
Super trip, okay? Everything's wonderful.
Having fun. Having fun.
I said, this is a marvelous setting. We have a nice breeze coming off the water, and after a special day of seeing all these sights, this is just perfect. Just perfect.
Evenings in Istanbul will unfold at fine local Turkish restaurants. After your tour of Istanbul, you'll set out from Istanbul on the Grand Bora tour. And here is Safranbolu, the most authentically preserved Ottoman town in Turkey.
In Safranbolu, you feel like you're there about 200 years ago, and we stay in a caravanserai converted into a hotel that is from 300 years earlier. It just is a wonderful place with great photo opportunities of ancient Ottoman houses. And since 1980s that it's been recognized as one of UNESCO's World Heritage Sites.
Many of the ancient Hittite ruins and sites, like Hattushash, are well preserved.
When I walk around here in this Hittite capital, Hattushash, it never ceases to impress upon me all these boulders and rocks and how they were moved some 4,000 years ago. And the remnants from this antiquity is overwhelming.
We travel through rugged countryside on our way to Amasya.
Oh, Amasya. What an impressive little town, friendly little town. River going right through it. On the sheer rocks, these king's tombs carved into the rocks. Fortress way up in the sky. The hotel we stay has gorgeous view overlooking everything. And friendly people. As a town of learning, Amasya is a great city.
Bora's Cultural Folk Tours takes time to visit Amasya's beautiful Ottoman mosque, built in 1486. Turkey is a secular nation, and the form of Islam practiced here is more private and peaceful in nature. Amasya is not a big tourist stop, but it offers a splendid mixture of old Seljuk and Ottoman Turkish architecture, and the Pontic and Roman presence before them. On every Bora tour, we visit one of the villages near Amasya.
The village in the mountains near Amasya, Yassıçal village, is a very special place for me. They always welcomed me for 7, 8, 9 years with hospitality, music's playing, welcoming us, making us feel comfortable. So a few years back, I decided to set up a scholarship fund and send these girls to high school where otherwise they would not have the chance to go to school because there's no high school in this village.
An overnight stop is made at the fascinating coastal city of Trabzon.
Trabzon has always been a merchant city because it was always the end of the Silk Road, one of the ending spots.
It's also known for its beautiful architectural and historic sites, like the Hagia Sophia. Inside are beautifully preserved, vividly colored frescoes of various biblical scenes. Cutting south from Trabzon, we will take you into a mountainous and verdant land of tea, fir trees, and rushing rivers. And on some tours, we may find a livestock market to stop and take photos. At the base of the monastery is a beautiful mountain stream. It's a great setting for a picnic, and the fresh Turkish bread, cheese, tomatoes, nuts, and sweets are what Bora loves to share with his groups.
Nearby Trabzon is the Sümela Monastery. It's an awesome monastery built some 1700 years ago. It's up on the side of a cliff on the mountains.
Frescoes from the 18th century cover almost every surface of the inner sanctums.
Oh, this is beautiful. I've been enjoying this tour so much. I love Turkey, and especially when somebody knows the area, and Bora really does.
From Trabzon and Sümela, we travel through the incredible canyons and across mountain passes on our way to Erzurum.
This is great. The crisp air, the snow, mountains. I mean, this is wonderful. You couldn't get any better. It's just wonderful drive, beautiful day.
Erzurum has many layers of history, and anyone who had to conquer Anatolia, anyone who had to go through east and west on the migration routes or conquering routes had to go through Erzurum. So it's like if you owned Erzurum, you own the rest of Anatolian plains. The Erzurum Houses restaurant is a bunch of houses all put together, turn it into a reasonably priced restaurant. Everywhere you look, it's ancient antiques. It's a fun place to have lunch there.
We understand this is the bridge that Marco Polo must have crossed on the way back from China.
In Bora's secret location, he'll stop the bus to show you black and red obsidian side by side and collect a few pieces that you can take home.
That's a very sharp edge on this black obsidian.
Ani, the unforgettable 1,000-year-old ruins are a must-see.
What a place. This incredible medieval city, which was a capital of the Armenian Empire, is sitting there, visited by almost no one but us.
Another unexpected treasure, you know, that built up a lot of things. I didn't know what to expect here, and it was just incredible.
From Ani, we travel south on our way to Mount Ararat.
We're about 2 miles at the most, maybe a mile and a half from Armenia. It's on the other side. All of that you see is Armenia. The road over there is the road we're going to take.
On our journey to Lake Van, we'll get magnificent views of the great mountain Ararat.
Whenever we see the peak, by God, we stop and we take this awesome picture.
On tours through this region, we often stop at small Kurdish villages.
Oh, I feel wonderful about the clear air and beautiful background of Kurdish villages, goats, donkeys, and awesome sight.
We also visit the amazing Ishak Pasha Palace that crowns a hilltop not far from Mount Ararat.
The Ishak Pasha Palace, with all that stone carvings, with the location, there's a real romantic atmosphere about this place, the Ishak Pasha Palace. Right on top of a hill, with incredible stone carvings, a minaret, a harem room, a palace overlooking everything. Wow, what a place.
This palace is situated directly on an important Silk Road pass. From Ishak Pasha Palace, we continue traveling south on our way to the historically important Lake Van. And this is Lake Van, one of the world's highest lakes at 5,500 feet. We enjoy a delicious lunch near the lake, complete with traditional folk dancing and music of the region. And there's time for a Turkish rug demonstration.
One of the things that I'm really in love with in Turkey is the quality of handmade items that one could buy. And the many years of Ottoman Empire expansion and so many cultures blending into Turkish culture, and many beautiful handmade items are available at reasonable prices, such as kilims, rugs, which are part of the dowry pieces in Turkey. So the tradition of the Ottomans has enriched the handicrafts in Turkey.
We then take a boat on Lake Van and head for the island of Akdamar.
When you look at this beautiful church from 1,000 years ago, an Armenian church, you cannot help but be immensely impressed. The stories of David and the Goliath, Adam and Eve about to eat from the forbidden tree, Jonah and the whale, and many more reliefs on this outside of this church in the spring, especially with almond blossoms all over the place. My God, it's a magical place.
With mountains and the Lake Van framing the scene, this is certainly one of the most beautiful settings in all of Turkey. Traveling through eastern Turkey, you'll see scenes and conditions of country life that have not changed for hundreds of years.
It is so special to make a trip and you see a lady carrying a bunch of little baby goats, kids, in a saddlebag in the back of a donkey. Wow, what a shot.
It's been a wonderful experience. People are very friendly.
We are in Hasan Cave, right over the bridge over Tigris River. This ancient city with mausoleums, ancient bridges, hilltop fortresses, and an environment just like Cappadocia is a spectacular place, and with friendly people.
And we stop at the fascinating city of Mardin.
We go to a place called Mardin. That's where some of my childhood was spent. My mom was born there. Same donkeys walking, same horses going with bells through the streets, same bazaars, only there are people now following me there to this place of my childhood, and it's so much fun to show them places that I grew up in. Dolma is a Turkish word. Our Greek friends added dis at the end, this dolmades, but it's stuffed. That's what it means, stuffed. Dolma.
We in the United States are just not taking advantage like we should of a wonderful experience. It's for the kind of person who loves adventure travel, but kind of wants to be comfortable along the way. And it's been fabulous from that point of view because we've seen about 100 different things. The depth of the tour is just incredible, and at the same time, we've been out where you would go if you were a young backpacker.
And we stayed there in a caravanserai hotel that was originally built in 1275. Could you imagine staying in a 750-year-old hotel? Yes. See, that's what makes cultural folk tours different than any other company. No comparison, because we do things that, we think of things that others don't do that are great, and we do that.
The flowers have been wonderful on the trip. It's May, and people were taking pictures of all the flowers and the poppies.
We visit a little-known holy place for Christian Turks, just outside Mardin, on the edge of the Mesopotamian plains, one of the unique and unexpected stops made on a Bora folk tour. We cross the Euphrates River and finally arrive in Urfa.
Urfa is the city of prophets. Job was here, Abraham was born here, and people come from all over the world actually to see the birthplace of Prophet Abraham, who is also a holy person in Islam religion. So this place with very hungry fish with big open mouths is a very fun place to visit as well. You feel like you're in an ancient bazaar 1,000 years ago.
Urfa also has an old bazaar filled with spices, fruits, gold jewelry, and a mixture of peoples from throughout Asia Minor. It feels like you've stepped back into a story from 1001 Arabian Nights. Near Urfa is the fantastic place called Haran.
I really like the town of Haran, not because it's a 6,000-year-old city with city walls, but friendly people, beehive houses all over the place. Just a great place to be. I like it.
Its beehive-like dwellings are marvels of architecture. In southeastern Turkey is a unique site not to be missed. It's called Nemrut.
In the middle of nowhere, at nearly 8,000 feet elevation, with these colossal 6, 7, 8 feet tall heads fallen from their bodies on top of a mountain. Gosh, it's such an awesome place to be. It's well worth the trip all by itself, all the way to Turkey. Fortuna, the goddess of fortune. That's where good fortune comes from. Fortuna, the Roman goddess for good luck. I knew a doctor once. He said, Bora, you must see this place before you die, because it should really be one of the 7 wonders of the world.
From Nemrut, we travel a few hours to the Great Mosaic Museum in Gaziantep.
This mosaic museum is very, very special. When I look at these mosaics, I can really relate to them. I see the costumes that they're wearing, the facial expressions that they have, the kind of glass that they drink the wine from. It's like 2,000 years ago come alive. That's why it is probably the best mosaic museum in the world.
We also visit Ankara, the capital of Turkey. We pick you up at the airport in our new Mercedes bus and take you to another 4-star hotel in downtown Ankara. This international hotel has great rooms and an extensive breakfast buffet. Ankara has several places important to visit. One is the magnificent Museum of Anatolian Civilizations. This particular museum contains relics from Çatalhöyük, one of the earliest known human communities. Relics displayed follow Turkish history from the Neolithic period, 7500 BC, all the way to the Roman period. And most importantly, we take you to see the national shrine, Mustafa Kemal Atatürk.
Atatürk, father of Turkey, George Washington and Abraham Lincoln to Turkey. He has inspired me all my life, and such a great man that I'm really proud to bring my fellow travelers to this mausoleum here.
Cappadocia. Few places in the world can match the bizarre and beautiful natural beauty of the Cappadocia region in central Turkey.
A lot of tours come to Cappadocia and see the regular things, but where other tours end, this is where Bora Tours begins. And I feel like I'm in another planet. Look at this. This is called the Honey Stream Valley. Cappadocia Cave Suites, my hotel, is the only place that I have utilized or used any part of my architectural degree from Berkeley.
Some 1,200 years ago, early Christians carved small churches within these conical shapes and made frescoes and crosses that are of museum-like quality.
You know, this hotel is such a special feeling. The way Bora has blended in the antiquity, the original architecture, how it puts everything together, it feels like you're living both in the past and the present at the same time.
I'm mesmerized, and we're going to get our daughter to definitely come. It's something I don't think in a lifetime you could see anywhere else.
It's beautiful. I love it. Not just like it, I love it with all my heart.
Well, I hate to leave. It's just such a beautiful place, and look at this gorgeous ambiance of this whole patio. It's just wonderful, and it's laid out in such an artistic fashion. It's both the old and the new, comfort and old world. So I've enjoyed it very much, and I hate to leave.
And if possible, you should take a hot air balloon ride across the Cappadocia landscape.
We could almost touch the top of the rocks. It was guided beautifully.
And I think this is a dream for a geologist.
Oh, it was great. It was great. I'm so glad we came. Yeah, it was wonderful.
Even on a cloudy day, the view is magnificent. And in fact, I think it's even better because you get close to the rocks and it's almost luminescent, the colors.
We'll take you to explore the ancient churches carved into the rocks by early Christians. Some 1,500 years ago, early Christians took refuge here from increasingly frequent attacks by Arab raiders. Also on our agenda are stops at ancient handicraft shops where potters and other craftsmen create their work. After the pottery demonstration, you can choose a colorful treasure from literally thousands of handmade items at half the price that others would pay. Cappadocia is famous for its rugs and kilums.
There are thousands of places to buy rugs in Turkey, obviously, and one could buy on their own, but you could never be sure of the quality, whether they're going to send it, and the price is right. So when we guide people or give advice on rugs, we make sure that they are in good hands, that they pay least amount for the most quality material. So as a result, we make our clients happy on that department as well.
While in Cappadocia, you'll experience a Sufi dervish ceremony. We're one of the only companies that shows you this fascinating ceremony. The devotees of the Sufic mystic Mevlana rotate in a cosmic circular dance of dedication and love for their God and for life itself. While in Cappadocia, we visit Kanish. It was a merchant city in the trade between Assyrians and the people of Anatolia.
I'm overwhelmed by the ancient ruins that are available or exist here that have been partly excavated and made available to the public, and the enormity of what hasn't been excavated, but the scope, the breadth, the depth is fabulous.
We'll also visit the amazing underground cities, a couple of them large enough to have accommodated up to 10,000 people. They lived and worked in 8 separate floors that went as deep as 150 feet.
This is the area that they cooked for a few hundred, if not even more people.
After our underground city visit, we continue south to Gümüşler, a monastery near the city of Niğde. This monastery is the only monastery found completely intact, without any damage to the frescoes, which are very beautiful indeed. Inside are beautiful frescoes from biblical scenes. Here in Tarsus is a well-preserved Roman street that was walked upon by people like Antony, Cleopatra, Octavian, Cicero, Julius Caesar, Pompey, Hadrian, and St. Paul himself. Tarsus is forever linked to the name of St. Paul, who was born here 2,000 years ago. You'll stay at the 5-star hotel, Merzan Hilton, overlooking the Mediterranean. It's a good example of the quality of accommodations you can expect in many parts of Turkey.
The food in Turkey, one of the highlights. Food is going to be better in TurkeyTour than any other country that you will visit anywhere else in the world, period.
The road west of Merzan travels along the Cilician coast. Peppered around the coastline are fascinating ancient Greek, Roman, and Byzantine sites.
You know, when I was a kid, I was very much into history and archaeology. When we went to these historic sites on the Mediterranean coast, me and my mom, God bless her, school teacher, we used to wander all over the place among these ruins, and boy, did we ever discover all these hidden places. So I take people to these places that only known by us. And history everywhere you look. Greco-Roman history, Armenian history, Seljuk Turkish history, Ottoman history, Seleucid history, you name it, it's there. And what we see is for our eyes only. That's another source of pride for me in these tours. Taking people to places that others don't go, and nobody has the same photos but us. I love to play music here in this chasm, and it was holy to the pagans, it was holy to the Christians, it's holy to me.
This is so great. It's so well preserved. I mean, you wouldn't believe that these ancient churches are still around. They're just amazing. The ruins are unbelievable. You wouldn't imagine that that would be something that somebody could walk and get up to and look at, and they're just wonderful. And there's nobody else here. There's no other tourists. It's perfect. We're the only people here.
The Cilician coast has many fairy tale castles and ancient sites. Here's the land castle that overlooks the more famous Korikos, or Maiden's Castle, in the bay. Known as Dio Caesarea to the Romans, Olba is home to the 2,300-year-old Temple of Zeus, which is the oldest example of Corinthian order in Turkey. On this tour, the tremendous sound of Zeus's thunder greeted us.
It's fascinating. Bora brings us to these places where, you know, I think we would never see if we came out on our own, so it's really wonderful.
The beauty of this blue coast has long been appreciated. It's recorded that this entire area was presented as a gift by Mark Antony to his beloved Cleopatra.
We just can't stop collecting rocks. I mean, it's ridiculous. I don't know what I'm going to do with them, but I cannot stop collecting rocks. Look at this.
With Bora, it makes the difference. With Bora is doing this tour because he's explained everything, and we go to places that nobody goes.
We are now on our way to Antalya, along the beautiful turquoise waters of the Mediterranean Sea. And this is the beautiful coastal city of Antalya. An old Roman city has become today's Turkish Riviera. Dozens of alluring coves attract pleasure boats from many countries, and Antalya's old harbor is one of the most beautiful in all of Turkey. With a lovely palm tree environment and beautiful hotels, it's an important holiday spot for Turkish people and tourists alike.
We pay extra when we are in a seaside, beautiful hotel. We pay extra to make sure that all of our rooms have the seaside view.
This is a beautiful evening. The sun is setting, the temperature is perfect. It's like we're in paradise.
Oh, this is a beautiful, beautiful site, and everybody should do this. It's a beautiful site, and the trip is well worth it.
The next day, we begin an exploration of the world-renowned Antalya Museum. The Antalya Museum offers the most complete and well-preserved statues of the Greco-Roman period in the world. Truly, these are better than those in Italy, Spain, or Greece.
This is the finest collection of Roman statuary and sarcophagi that you could find in the world, right here in Antalya Museum.
Antalya is situated in very close proximity to the ancient Greek and Roman city of Perge. Alexander the Great conquered this city, but later the city flourished under the Seleucid kings. Our guides will show you the most important aspects of Perge's various theaters, stadium, baths, and colonnaded streets.
Everything's incredible. It's so well preserved. I can't believe it. It's wonderful.
Bora is doing this largely out of passion, but he really is doing it with a passion and a love that comes through. And Bora was really telling you from the heart and the soul the history and the background, and I think that came through in a very authentic way.
Not far from Perge is the glorious Aspendos, one of the ancient world's greatest remaining theaters. Built almost 1,800 years ago, the theater was used until recently and seats 15,000 people. Continuing down some beautiful Turkish highways is the ancient place called Aphrodisias, one of the earliest occupied sites in Turkey. The temples, schools, and theaters were constructed in honor of the Roman goddess of love and fertility, Aphrodite.
You read all this when you're a kid in school, but it doesn't mean much because it's so dead. But when you see this in real life, and these wonderful Greek and Roman ruins are every 10 or 15 miles apart, here is where it still exists.
Aphrodisias was also an ancient center of Roman art. Here's the beautiful monumental gateway called the Tetrapylon. And here's the stadium, which seated nearly 35,000 people.
The food has been wonderful, really. There's such a variety of choice, and we've had marvelous vegetables prepared in a lot of different ways.
After lunch, we'll continue our drive to Pamukkale, one of the natural wonders of the world. Overnight in Pamukkale is at another 5-star hotel. In the morning, we can walk from our hotel to Pamukkale.
Amazing flowers. I've never seen in 31 years this much flowers, this much beauty around here. Must have had a lot of rain this year. Come on over. In every city in antiquity, as you know, the cemeteries were set outside of the city for hygienic reasons as well as practicality. So, as you can see, this is an old road that they excavated about 15 years ago. The road that came through the cemetery and into the city.
Pamukkale is an ancient Greco-Roman site and city with waters believed to have healing properties. Here are the snow-like tavertines of calcium. The hot mineral waters burst from the earth to run through a ruined Hellenistic city.
This is beyond anything. I am so glad they're preserving it. It is spectacular. Seeing all of these pools, seeing the white mineral falling over the hills, seeing the water, how they're doing this. This has been one absolutely phenomenal experience.
From Pamukkale, we drive through lush countryside to Sardis, the 1,500-year-old extremely wealthy capital city of the Lydian kingdom. Gold found in the nearby Pactolus River helped to make King Croesus a very rich man indeed, and silver and gold coinage seems to have been invented here, hence the phrase, as rich as Croesus. You will see one of the world's oldest synagogues here, as well as see the excavations, the gymnasium, and the Artemis Temple. The Jewish synagogue here is the oldest known synagogue in the world, and the floor mosaics here are exceptional.
Folks, when you put a little water on this, in this open air synagogue, and put a little water on these mosaics, it sure comes alive, doesn't it?
Night will be spent in a beautiful hotel in Kusadashi.
You know how it is that you go around the world and you expect a great room in a great hotel, and people get more than their money's worth in my tours for a hotel room just so that everyone in the group has the view. I'm very proud of that fact. Take Greek, Armenian, Lebanese, Syrian, all those foods, they're listed under Turkish cuisine. Vegetables, lots of good, healthy spices, very, very beautiful combination of vegetables. There's 100 ways to cook eggplant in Turkey. Turkish cuisine is a highlight.
Believers say that the Virgin Mary came to Ephesus with St. John toward the end of his life around 40 AD. Pope Paul authenticated the site on a visit here in 1967, and it has become a place of pilgrimage. The following day, we'll study the incredible Ephesus and its colossal Greek theater and library. Unmatched by any archaeological site, Ephesus appeals to every visitor, from the serious archaeology scholars to the casual visitor.
Ephesus is a great city, great Greco-Roman city. It is so immense, so impressive, and after 130 years they have only excavated 30%.
It's just a magnificent display of Roman architecture and engineering ingenuity. And just what you see here, you can just imagine how fabulous the city must have been 2,000 or so years ago.
Pretty breathtaking to see this, and also the history and the layers of history and the sculpture and the landscape combined. I understand that only 30% has been excavated, and it's enough to come. You could spend weeks here.
This is the Ephesus Theater, the biggest in the world, 25,000 people, with a very, very, very nice acoustic system. And this is historically relevant that in here there was a riot actually when St. Paul was giving a sermon.
We'll also take you to Pergamon to see the Asclepion, dedicated to Asclepios, the god of medicine. Bora, or one of our guides, will explain that this was not your average medical clinic. It was the first complete health spa in history. Troy, the legendary city, immortalized by the Iliad.
It's interesting to see about the different layers within the city and about the walls and how they try to protect the city. And I look forward to learning more about it as we walk through with our guide.
Troy, Achilles' heel, Paris, all these names that we're familiar with. Troy, as it is not as huge and impressive as Ephesus, is definitely one of the most important archaeological sites anywhere in the world. I wouldn't miss this place for all the tea on the coast of Black Sea.
Moving up the Aegean coastline will take you on a beautiful drive to Çanakkale. Night will be spent in a beautiful hotel in Çanakkale.
To everyone.
Did I tell you that Turkish cuisine is one of the three major cuisines of the world? French, Italian, Chinese, and the ones in between is the Turkish cuisine.
From Çanakkale, we take a ferry over to the coastline of Gallipoli. It's great to think about the fact you're making a beautiful 30-minute crossing between Asia and Europe. We visit both Turkish and Allied cemeteries. Nearly 500,000 Turks and Allied forces died on the battlefields of Gallipoli.
Here we are at the Anzac Cove with many English and Australian Anzac New Zealand Army Corps cemetery. It's a very, very emotional place for anyone, Turkish or otherwise. There were 250,000 Turkish and 250,000 Allied soldiers that lost their life here. 1 out of 2 Turkish soldiers sent here did not return. Those mothers, he said, wipe away your tears. Your sons fell in this country of ours, and they're in our bosoms, and they have become our sons as well.
I understand now what they were up against and why it was such a tough fight and why the Turks were able to win, because they had the high ground.
From Gallipoli, we return to Istanbul for a last evening of fine seafood dining and music. On a Bora tour, Bora will join in the music with a small gypsy orchestra here.
After my tour, they were very hard pressed to be satisfied with any other tour. Honest to God, this is what I hear from many of my clients.
Oh, you know, once you've taken a tour with Bora, it is hard to match. You have so much going for you, and we have been taken care of, everything from soup to nuts, and helped on and off the bus, and beautiful hotels. It's just impossible to match at the price that Bora charges. It's been wonderful. You really get a much nicer, bigger trip than you could do on your own for the same price.